What is up, my friends? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I'm your host, Dan Tom. Analysts' work you can find over at MMA Junkie as well as ActionNetwork.com. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high-level MMA, and that's what we're going to do here tonight. Whenever you're listening to this, hopefully it's before the fight, recording this as per usual Thursday night to break down UFC 294. Of course, it's an earlier card, but we stay the same. I'm just happy to have a show for you and happy to have a co-host, which I try to do for the pay-per-views. It's been a crazy, stretch, which we'll talk about and touch on as far as what's coming. But let's welcome my host, one of the shows that I shout out the most. Of course, a co-host of that is Chronic Combat Conversations. You can find them at Chronic Combat on the artist formerly known as Twitter. But the co-host I have with me is my man Greg, who is as at Guru Scouting MMA. What is up, Greg?
Dan, Tom, dude, thank you so much for having me on. What an honor and a blessing to be on the podcast, man. Seriously.
No, it's awesome, man. I'm a big fan of your show, who is a presence right now. I'm guessing that's a good opportunity to shout out probably the man behind the scenes as well. Your other co-host, the other mad scientist there, that is TB Scouting, Tyler, known amongst his friends. You guys are just two friends of this show, two friends of mine, good dudes. I've had you on before. You guys have had me on. It's a pretty tight knit community, and you guys are definitely some good guys who. It's one of my favorite dessert shows because you guys always can give me a good laugh. You guys both have a kind of a twisted and dark sense of humor, so you should fit right at home here as well, my friend.
No, absolutely. We are two fucked up individuals, to say the least. But we're proud of it, and we try to be good and wholesome, and we have good hearts. And I think that's why we get along with you so well, Dan, because there's not a bad bone in your body. And we've just kind of clicked since day one. TB and I have always, honestly, just kind of looked up to you from, honestly, we were watching Fight Night Picks, and then we were watching the Line Movement podcast. That's
nice.
what before we even knew what we were watching, man. And before we even had before the pregnancy of Chronic Combat Conversation before the gestation period even began, Dan Tom, we were watching you. So to be here on the show with you is just totally full circle and truly just an incredible honor. I couldn't mean it enough.
No, I appreciate that. And before we extend this, circle jerk fest any too further, or widen the circle, if you will, I was actually just thinking about the Line Movement show today, man. Missing that show, it was a fun time period. Of course, shout out to my co-host for that show, Dan Levy. And it's just like I was saying with your guys, I love being able to have a co-host. Like, we're kind of joking off air, whether it's like you got to look something up or this or that. But it's honestly just fun, especially if it's like somebody that you jive with and whatnot. You actually look forward to it. And then as an audience member, perhaps you guys listening, hi, what's going on? Apologies, they're not fucked up. It was me that fucked up while we're late. But you can still give me a like if you want, chime in. But I'm sure those listening and watching live will say that they appreciate shows more where you have the hosts. They have like a, what do you call it? A rapport, a chemistry,
Dynamic
right?
Rapport, yeah.
You guys have
Absolutely.
a great chemistry. So I want to end with the dick sucking fest by saying I love your guys' chemistry. Go subscribe and go check out Chronic Combat Conversations after the show, of course. But please do it.
Means the world, seriously.
No worries. We got people up in the chat. My guy Ghost Phantom just popped up on the screen. He's one of the enforcers, along with Jimmy Kudo, who is usually not very far. Mark Fellows in the house. Of course, you know me. I love some Mark Fellows. Hello, DT. FYI, Volk finishes this. I wouldn't be mad, and hopefully he does it under. But we'll get there, and enough teasers for perhaps what I'm looking at in those fights. I'm going to give you guys what I got. Guru, I know you guys just dropped your show on your YouTube channel, so I'm not exactly asking you to step on anything, but if you have any new opinions, of course, you're welcome to drop them here as well, my friend. You guys know Greg, Guru. This is the cool Guru, by the way.
It's one of the best things about the show. It's always free. There's nothing behind a paywall. As soon as it comes to my brain, I promise you, it'll come right on the mic. Pause.
Yep, yeah, there we go. Oh my God. Here we go. It has begun. If you guys know how many times I quote that, by the way, on a betting night. James Kendrick. Hi, Guru. I enjoyed Chronic Combat Conversations yesterday. James Kendrick, fan of Chronic Combat in the house. My guy James. What's up, James? Jimmy Kudo, there he is. Speak of the devil in Yahya-Peek. Of course, Jimmy Kudo is not a devil. He is an angel who we are lucky to have here. He's a biracial angel. I don't know about that, but I'm just quoting whatever. What was that movie? The Other Guy, Other Guys or something? I don't know. But little Will Ferrell there. I don't really quote him very much. Jimmy Kudo says, guys, let's all be positive today. We have a guest, and it's important to respect him. And it's just Greg. You guys don't have to like bring your standards that high. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, of course, respect no matter who is here in the chair, and respect my guests more than you guys respect me, please. But yeah, we're gonna get on with the show. I apologize for the late start. I skipped a bunch of stuff that I was gonna do today because I thought I was gonna have extra time, but I've honestly just been so wrapped up in this card, and I feel like I'm seeing the board, decently okay. So. Thought I heard a Skype noise there or whatever. It looks like we're still good. But I feel like I've been seeing the board decently okay. I haven't been able to check out one of my favorite dessert shows yet. So it's going to be genuine reactions as far as you telling me what you're on, Guru, here. And what you're liking for this card. But before we get to that, of course, we're just going to do a recap of the week before. It's kind of the standard format on this show. Of course, Guru knows that. Just kind of saying it for the newer listeners who are unfamiliar. Luckily, if you're not live, although I still appreciate whether you're live or not, please hit the like button. I appreciate it. You guys can skip forward. I will have timestamps posted up in the future. But if you're live, you're kind of stuck with me. So we're going to recap UFC Vegas 81 from top to bottom. It was a losing night for me. How did you end up doing, Guru? Just kind of a loose recap there.
I ended up getting burnt by Jennifer Maia, being very silly on that. Can't be laying chalk on a fight you absolutely expect to go the distance, and then somebody that also doesn't have the wrestling wrinkle in there. And then I got burned on Sadiq Youssef as well. Didn't call that one right at all, honestly. Just seemed No,
go ahead. What's up?
Yeah, I just didn't seem like even it seemed more like, especially as the fight went on, it seemed more that Sadiq more had landed a lucky punch more than it was more that he was more often than not that he would knock him out or finish him or outpace him. Maybe he punched himself out, but I was very unimpressed with Sadiq's performance on a full camp for a 5-round fight.
Yeah, you wonder how much he went for that finish, and it looked like it was there. So I guess I can't blame him there. We never really saw him in championship rounds, so that was something for sure. Of course, Youssef versus Barbosa headlined the evening. I'm with you as far as the last two nights really made or broke my night, and no crying over spilt milk, but they are worth talking about. Now, I was happy to be wrong in the sense of fandom because I'm a big Barbosa fan. I didn't have. Any dog in the race there. And the way I attacked the board for this fight, by the way, I was leading. I had perfect picks leading up to the co-main event. So I was like trying to be quiet and not jinx it, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I just need my two biggest bets, even on bad nights, bad streaks that I've been on. I've been hitting a disproportionate amount of my biggest bets of the night, which is kind of funny in it all. So I'm like, well, that's my biggest bets. I mean, I did my most tape study. These are at the end of the card. I don't need to hit both. I'm not a greedy man, Greg. I just need one. And I'm perfect going into it, and we know how that goes. The way I attacked the board for the main event was I played the under, which I'm not much of a total guy, but I feel like I've been a total guy lately, man. And, I believe I went with the under, and then I did Barbosa in late rounds in case it gets there. And, again, it's just one of those things where when I've had, air quote, good nights, or winning nights, the haters will be like, look where you did in picks. And I'm like, that's the thing, though. You guys don't understand, that's why I kind of laugh at people again, and we'll talk about this because there was definitely that in the co-main event. I'm going to friendly call out some friends here. But I'm very forgiving if you're a bad loser, but if you're a bad winner, that's where I'm like, come on, man. Don't be a bad winner. You are so lucky to have a win in this game. When I look at my winning nights recently, coincidentally or not, I had some of the worst picks in analysis, but I won in the betting ways, right? And in this, I went 9-2 in picks, and I still somehow lost in the betting. And even in the fights that made or break me, my analysis wasn't exactly terrible. It was actually really spot on for this main event. we were going to get an early, people were like, oh, Yusuf doesn't pressure enough. I'm like, no, he does. He will early at least, and I think that'll be enough to draw an exchange. And if he draws an exchange, he will have the more durability, the more firepower. And I even explained the pull right hand that he kept hitting Barbosa with constantly, like naming it down to the tools. But on the other side, naming the exact tools that Barbosa was going to use. The left hook, check hook was going to be super live, head and body. It was. I forget what else I called. Oh, even like the spin kick, which isn't something that, you call, I throw out there, carelessly or whatever. But, just the left-sided susceptibility. Sadiq Yusuf has like a left-sided susceptibility to left-sided strikes, which end up hitting him on the right side. Kind of like Bilal Muhammad. It's almost like that down the middle when you look at, like, you go comb their fights and you look at all the strikes that hurt him. And Barbosa looked like he was going to get the finish. And not only was he going to get the finish, the way I played it, Guru in the audience, I had Barbosa 4-5 and the under 3.5. So when Barbosa's almost getting the finish, it's within that like sweet spot where I could have cashed the under and a round 4 ticket, right? Like that's where it's kind of set up to do so. And I'm not getting all hyped. I don't want to jinx it like the picks. I'm like, ooh, I think I'm gonna cash 2 tickets here. Holy crap! I'm not a greedy man, Greg. Again, I just need 1. I think I'm gonna cash 2. Nope. And as soon as that second miss on the finish, I'm like, oh, we're going to go the distance. I'm going to be sick to my stomach. And sure enough, and that's what kind of broke me on that one. So again, analysis, picks, and bets are all 3 different things, and that was an example of it.
100%. There's times where, you go 6-5 on picks, but you cash out heavy. Maybe you had a good live read or you just put your bets together right. And then there's times where, I had only missed Melissa Dixon, Rena Alexeva going into the last 2 fights of the night. So, I was feeling pretty good after I had nailed Darren Elkins and Jonathan Martinez. So, you feel good about certain spots, and then you roll up into the main event, think you're going to get a little extra saucy, maybe a little something extra, because, you're getting to the meat and potatoes of the card, if you could call Jennifer Maia and Viviane Araújo that. And that's what we call the Gen City, and it didn't pan out as well, but I think we got some interesting things for this card too, though.
Absolutely, and it sounds like we both made the same mistake in that co-main event with Maia and Araújo. I was definitely bought into the chalk. In my defense, I thought maybe she could actually get a KO, which sounds crazy, but again, if you actually look at Maia's improvements and stuff, the line to her improvements have been totally off, right? But it doesn't matter when you go into this spot and you lose, whereas Araújo, I've actually been a fan of Araújo. I've taken shots on her in the dog. I get Women MMA dogs. So I wasn't hating on it before, and I'm definitely not hating on it after. Even during, I congratulated Araújo bettors and moved on. And perhaps it was because, again, I just needed one of my sprinkles in the last 2 fights. I really didn't care that I lost this one, even though, yes, technically, and I'm not that guy, even though I can be, because I'm one of the few people that actually took the judges courses and passed them. At the same time, when it comes to the media members who flaunt that, I probably flaunt that the least, right? And I didn't, get on a high horse, and I'm like, oh, Maia, technically. But a lot of people, analysts I respect, people that bet no money on the fight, scored it for Jennifer Maia, people who understand the criteria, who understand fighting, both, one or the other specifically, a combination of it. That's what I saw on my timeline. And that made me feel less crazy, and I'm going to go and move on, right? But here's what I want to say, and I'm not going to, it was multiple people, it was both bettors, it was analysts as well. And these are all people I love and are friends with. So there's no reason to get petty. This is not coming from a bad place. I'm not trying to... And there's a reason why I'm not calling people out specifically on this. But it's a point that I always bring up. And Guru, feel free to weigh in here. When I cashed, for example, Vanessa Demopoulos over Kanako Murata, right? Even though that was another fight where, again, I could be criteria nerd and be like, well, actually, because of the criteria, you can justify as I cash my big fat ticket and do my victory lap, right? Did I do that? No. What did I tweet? I am lucky and I am grateful to be cashing this MFer because even though we could justify it, I essentially just want a WMMA tight decision, which in my woo-woo terms, I A, barely ever do, and B, regardless of whatever projection I want to make, the fact is the fighter on the bottom seldomly gets rewarded. So I am going to gratefully and, hands in the air, like I got away with one, I'll take it. And that's just kind of my attitude. That doesn't have to be everybody's attitude. But it's weird. And Greg, you get this because we're gamblers. So I hate this because even if we're not guilty of this, just because we gamble on fights, any opinion we have can be like, oh, well, you're biased because you bet on it. or oh, all you gamblers, all you do is complain every time you lose a bet. So here's the thing that irks me. All the gambler complaints I saw on my timeline, Greg, maybe you saw different, were from people who won the bet. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why are the people who won the bet complaining?
I think any way in which to complain would be wrong. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Money can't buy class. And so, Dan, when you handle yourself that way, that's somebody acting with class. And for me as a gambler and somebody that's running a podcast, trying to give people advice, the last thing I want to do is come away with some sort of narrative where I'm blaming somebody else for a bet that I placed.
Yes.
So that's how it is. So
Great.
I placed my bet on Kanaka Murata. It was my decision to parlay that chalky women's MMA chalk in a fight that I didn't think that necessarily a finish was going to be there. That's my fault. Did I get robbed? Maybe. Do I need to? Is it weird to watch people gloat about Vanessa Demopoulos? Oh, I cashed my unit at plus 250 just the way I drew up. Like, bro, come on.
Come on, yeah.
No, that's not the way that we are.
Right, yes.
But on the other hand, it's like, as a gambler, if you're not looking at every single scenario as what could I have learned from this? If it's not the line makes you do shit, and here's the one little caveat I'll give, and I think it kind of ties in. Everybody and their grandma said, "Oh, Sean Strickland plus 500. Sean Strickland shouldn't be plus 500 against anybody." But on that hand, I'm gonna be parlaying Izzy, and I'm gonna have all these different props, and look what fucking happens.
Right.
The line makes you do shit. So
absolutely,
do your best to learn from it.
I love that. That's the more important takeaway is take your own responsibility. But yeah, I was like both analysts in podcasts to people tweeting on the timelines to gamblers. Again, this was just multiple people doing this. We're almost like shaming people who thought Maya had a chance, and I'm like, I didn't see the normal complaining that, again, we talk about that gets stereotyped, and for good reason, I get it, with gamblers. I'm like, I actually really didn't see it. I just thought it was really ironic that not only did I not see that in a classic fight you think there would, that the complaining was on the other side, and it was just ironic because it was from people who, if you talk to them, and I've talked to them before, they're gamblers, they'll call themselves out in their own shit, as we all should, where we score things with rose-colored glasses, right, when we have money on it, and for that reason alone, if we gamble on it, you should be not saying you can't have an opinion and you can't feel strong about it. You could do whatever you want. But what I am saying is maybe be a little trepidatious and have a little bit of self-awareness, something called that, when you have money on something and you are going to score it. Much less not just score it and realize your inherent bias, but then shame other people for how they score it. When it's like, what? And even analysts.
Most people completely lack self-awareness. I would say 85% of the population.
And again, these are people I respect. There were analysts that I respect, and I respect their scores. But I just found it ironic because even those people who are really, I'll look to their scores and respect them. There were some really rogue scorecards on that fight, and it was those people throwing out said rogue scorecards were the ones shaming others. And I'm like, so not only are we going to shame people, we're gonna again self-awareness. Like, do you realize what you were put? I mean, So again, I'm not trying to. It just was. I was ironic. I was like, man, This was like an L that I actually moved past that you think would have irked me, but what I still end up getting kind of irked as I guess technically am talking about it now. But it wasn't because of me. It was because everybody else seemingly who had no investment or were on the winning investment were the ones that were the most bothered. I didn't understand that. Anyways, okay, moving on. Way too much time with that. Jonathan Martinez defeats Adrian Yanez. I got to do the annoying sports guy thing. Forgive me, Guru. It's nothing against you or anybody. I totally get if anybody has underestimated Jonathan Martinez, but he's been one of those guys where I have been on him and defending him since day one. You listen to this podcast, and just having to feel like I defend my picks to plays almost every time this guy comes around at big dog money. Now I'm upset because we're not getting the dog money, right? We're getting this weird pick'em price. I love Yanez like everybody else. I get it. I don't blame people taking the shot on him, but I'm glad I took a shot on Martinez and got the price that I wanted. And the analysis was right. The leg kicks were too much. If you sprinkled on rounds 2 and 3, you'd probably turn some extra profit. Any comments on this one, Greg?
Yeah, Adrian Yanez was a former guest of Chronic Combat Conversations. A wonderful, excellent guy. Somebody very difficult to pick against. A very talented guy. But to be quite honest, I wasn't exactly sure where he'd been training and what he'd been doing. And I think somebody like you said, and Jonathan Martinez had a lot more to offer MMA wise. Had a lot more versatility in his game, and it showed in the fight because Adrian had no ability to deal with the leg kicks, the calf kicks, and I had a feeling that would be a major part of Jonathan Martinez's game. So as much as it pained me to pick against my guy, I had to do it.
It was unfortunate. But hopefully you turn some coin and being smart and going against your feelings, because that's a hard thing to do. To be honest, Michel, shouts to you guys. You guys had a Michel shout too. I appreciate it.
My consigliere, Michel.
Yes, defeated Andre Petrovsky. Obviously, this was one where I picked one way and just played the other. And the unfortunate part is, even though it wasn't surprising, it's just like we still haven't seen Michel Pineda against a UFC level grapple first fighter. When you look at his regional to we really haven't seen it on that level on this thing. So we've still yet to figure it out unless he gets one of those guys at middleweight. I think he's going to do pretty well here. Any comments on that fight?
Yeah, no, completely agree. Petrovsky, I thought maybe might be an interesting look because Michel had never faced any sort of grappler, but coming off the Thailand couch on short notice for Petrovsky didn't really make any sense, and he got completely flatlined and outclassed because realistically through his UFC run, he's never faced a legit athlete, which TB was trying to beat into my head over and over. So, yeah, I mean, that's why it's good to have a co-host.
Yeah, there we go. Shout out to TB. Christian Rodriguez defeated Cameron Simon via unanimous decision. Man, I don't know if you had anything on the sub prop. I did. That could have probably helped things in my night as well, but wasn't meant to be. But Christian Rodriguez does get the win and closed out a two-legger parlay that I had.
Yeah, I did the classic, which I believe made 3 weeks in a row, of putting it on my Bet MMA, but forgetting to bet it myself.
Oh, man.
Which makes no fucking sense.
Oh, man. It's like that's like the opposite of my move where, like, I'll do the opposite and it'll cash, and I'll have to just sit with not getting it or not, not being able to take credit for it.
Exactly. I did it with, who the fuck? I did it with a Zell-Uber sub. I did it with just him now. What's his face? Christian Rodriguez sub, and I think TV will remember the other one. I can't remember the other one right now.
All right. Well, Darren Elkins came through on me in the prelims as we cut through the rest of these. Hopefully, he came through as you. I wish I got them round 3 like some of y'all did. Massive props and a big genuine hand clap for people cashing those round 3 tickets. Again, I'm happy for people cashing tickets here, folks. So, congrats on you guys. I was just happy to cash Elkins money line. Anything to say about that one?
Yeah, I was on the Elkins money line as well, and was really happy to cash that one. Another one, TB was made sure that we got in on early and brought it home for me, and it made a lot of sense too. The Junkyard Dog against somebody in TJ Brown who just has no gas or fortitude or the scrambles. Honestly, I'm sure you're a BJJ guy. I mean, just love the scrambles. That was some high level.
Fantastic. Yeah,
that was so fun. So Darren Elkins is a fucking dog, man.
You almost feel for TJ Brown, too, because he rearranged his life, and you can see that like he came in great shape and didn't gas out as fast as he usually does, but it just was inevitable tying him up. I'm going to speed read through the last of these, a group of 3, a group of 2, then we'll get to the chat cleanup and to the breakdown after that. Tiana Lisboa defeated Ravina Oliveira. I didn't watch it. Terrence McKinney defeated Brendan Marat. There wasn't much to watch there. Melissa Dixon defeated Arena Alexieva. Dixon could be fun to watch come up, perhaps, but anything on those, Guru?
Yeah, not McKinney doing what McKinney does best, tearing through somebody. I'm dying for the UFC to just give him like some sort of matchup that makes sense, not where he's fighting way off more than he can chew and not fighting people that don't belong on the fucking circuit at all. Would love to see that. Melissa Dixon, interesting prospect, maybe kinda. Alexieva, basically, fraudulent. And Lisboa, Ravina Oliveira, I'm not sure why she's here. Filling spots, ultimate filler content. Damn.
Yep. Yeah. What's up?
In Lisboa, somebody again borderline fraudulent, can be taken down. Had that tough third round, so she's looking to fade her at some point, hopefully at a nice juicy price.
Dude, my dog is keeps farting away on the podcast. Yeah, I was a guest on someone else's show. My dog just like farted, and I'm like, "Oh, it was the dog," and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds like I'm making an excuse for me." But he keeps going over here. I'm gonna wait till he does it during a breakdown, and then we'll know the dog is live.
That's funny.
Gutierrez defeated Hailey Alatang, and then Emily Ducati defeated Ashley Yoder. I didn't watch too much of the Gutierrez-Alatang fight. And then Ducati-Yoder, I had Ducati in the parlay that closed out with Christian Rodriguez for plus money. And I ended up throwing her by KO in a round robin. And even though that KO wasn't close, if you look at the cuts after the fact, it's like, man, maybe we could have gotten a cut stoppage there. And, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But anything on those fights?
Yeah, Gutierrez was able to utilize his movement and keep Alatang at bay, who was unable to really control Gutierrez from moving around. And Ducati really has zero finishing aggression equity at all. The cuts were interesting, but Ashley Yoder does like to block punches with her face. I'm surprised that she hasn't been released yet. I would imagine that cut would be coming soon. And Ducati's honestly not very good. She was somebody that maybe we thought was decent, but has kind of shown her level here. Like she was barely maybe 1 or 2 steps above Yoder. Like the fight was way closer than it should be with a minus 400 favorite.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well that wraps up that card. I'm gonna clean up the chat and we'll get to the card you guys all have came for. Rain Lamina in the house. I'm gonna bring the puns with the guns. The Matt Schnell of correcting the Jack Slack spells. The Jennifer Maya of looking at the goddess Gaia. I appreciate that, Rain Lamina. I always love your jingles. My guy Ghost Phantom says, Yusuf went for the teep to the rear leg. I thought was cool. Yeah, that has been the flavor of the month for the analyst hipsters, right? And I say that with love, being among that circle, I guess. Ghost adds the right hand under the jab from Barbosa was also neat to watch. It absolutely was. Ghost, great shout. Rio says in Truesdale, don't worry, Dan. Most of us from the ashes of Drake Riggs' old podcast are good winners and losers. Unless it involves Zhang Wei Li, then we are sore losers and really bad winners. I understand that. I'll respect you guys. I got love for you guys. James Kendrick says, Guru, are you familiar with the toxicity of MMA betting X? It's very refreshing that you, TB, and especially Dan are not toxic individuals but are very good people. Oh, thank you for lumping me in with them.
Yeah, no, that means a lot. There definitely is a lot of toxic energy. I definitely don't emanate any of that in my personal life, and I'm certainly not going to echo that on social media, which I try to be an extension of myself.
Absolutely. As we've seen, there's enough toxic stuff and a bunch stuff to get the depressed out in the world. We don't need to add to it, certainly. So we're going to do our best to maybe get some laughs because, we all could, I'm sure, use some. Ghost says, hey, yo, TB in the house. That's right. We got the chat popping off here, of course. Dan Tom MMA on YouTube for you audio listeners. If you guys want to come watch the show, you prefer that way, come give a like. Or if you... want to, a tip or donate, I always quote the PayPal, but I do turn the super shares on, albeit I don't deserve them. Do monetize these breakdown shows. But again, I will answer your stuff clearly regardless of that. That's not a border of entry. But, maybe if I do finally start, cashing some profit here and doing well for you guys can come back and tip the show. Either way, tipping it with a like and a share is honestly the biggest main thing that I will and could ask for. So thank you in advance if you have not already hit that like button. Rio says in Truesdale, are we supposed to be a fan of T-Rex? ? He seems like the UFC version of Michael Venom Page. Yeah, I've heard that. And, I ain't got nothing against him. I know he gets out there and puts himself out there on social media. He seems like a good-natured dude. I'm more on the Guru side. I just want to see him matched up properly is all I want, All right, thank you guys for that. All right, 29, just about almost 30 minutes in. We're going to do this like Buddhist real quick. Oh, shout out to D Loves Turmeric Tonic. I forgot to grab it, my last bottle. Use code PROTECT15 at theturmeric.com. Follow him. D loves turmeric tonic. Throw the underscores in there on Instagram, kind of like you do with my name, Dan Tom MMA. You just insert the underscores between the words. You will find it. Again, theturmeric.com for some excellent elixir for the anti-inflammatory goodness. Use code PROTECT15 for 15% off. Shout out to my guy also, speaking of the betting show I just referenced, my guy Kyle Anthony. Met him out here in Vegas in a sports book. Real legit nice dude. Does an excellent job hosting. Does his research. Comes correct as well. Had fun doing his show. So I definitely want to give his happy hour show and his YouTube channel a shout. As well as I think I'm going to join in Jimmy Smith's show, Sirius XM, tomorrow. We're going to do that. So it's a busy week, but we're going to get to it. Of course, it's UFC 294 is the fighting question. No multiple names because it's not a fight night. It's not a UFC Vegas. This is going down in Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, Etihad Arena, the home of pretty much fighters like Islam Makhachev and now Khamzat Chimaev, apparently, where he's been camping out. We'll talk about those fights surely, soonly. We're going to start at the top. We're going to work our way down as usual. As I pull up odds here, we will start with the impromptu main event. Of course, it was supposed to be a different rematch because we haven't had enough rematches since 2021, folks. It was supposed to be Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. Now, I know I'm going to be the salty effing hipster over here, but I actually wasn't too excited about this matchup, so I wasn't too bummed that it actually got pulled apart because I was like, they're really making Charles go back to Abu Dhabi for Islam when he said he wasn't going to be ready. Even if he was, this is a tough matchup. He's really got to go all the way to Abu Dhabi for it. You guys know I'm a Bronx guy, right? So I was one of the weirdos who was like, I'm actually like good. Chaos reigns. You know, like Michael Caine, you know, some men just want to see the world burn. By the way, go ahead, Guru.
No, I just want to tell you, I was on your side. I was like, why the hell are they booking Makhachev versus Oliveira again? I didn't get it. I was like, I personally had saw enough the first time. I'm like, I'm good.
Absolutely. And by the way, people appreciated the Michael Caine impression last one. I haven't busted it out on here, but
just retired.
Really? Wow. Well,
9 years old, done and done.
Well, I'll quote Michael Caine here. You know, some men just want to watch the world burn. By the way, the secret to a Michael Caine impression is you have to say everything like you're coming in your pants. You know, like Master Wayne. Like that is how, you know. Slaughterhouse Rules. Like you have to speak like you're in the middle of releasing. You know, that is, sorry to be graphic. I'm just saying that's how Michael Caine gets it done.
That's where the Oscars are made.
That's right. Master Wayne, did I tell you about my trip to Burma? Alfred, I don't want to hear any more of your Thailand stories. No, this one's different, I swear. What version of The Dark Knight did you watch, Dan? All right, sorry, folks. The point is, they replaced the matchup. Wow, what a sidetrack there. They replaced the matchup with Volkanovski, and everybody goes from sad, which I was not, right? Then they go from, like, super excited, which, not to be salty, but I'm not. I am not excited. I might just naturally that much of a contrarian. But honestly, it's not even being a contrarian. It's the fact that it's like, guys, it's 11 days notice. We'll talk about this in the co-main event. But I feel like the counterpoint to everything, the elephant in the room is, guys, it's 11 days notice, you know? And this Volkanovski has nothing to lose stuff. Like, he's putting his legacy on the line here, folks. He's not going to get he really wants this belt. He's serious about it. Like, he's not going to get another shot if he messes it up, and now it's under not as ideal circumstances. But that being said, I'm going to throw it to Greg as I hit the betting line here. The betting line this time around is arguably tighter the way it opened, and even though it's inflated a bit, it's still on set to pace to close tighter with Islam Makhachev minus 280. You could have found him at minus 250 maybe still, or if you shopped around earlier this week for those big chalk players. At the comeback on your underdog, Volkanovski, the featherweight champ, as the challenger at lightweight here, plus 210. Guru, I'm a big Volkanovski fan. Sprinkle some optimism in here for me, or are you feeling like I'm feeling? What's going on?
Listen, I am a huge Volkanovski fan as well. I mean, he is the GOAT at this point, right? I mean, other than John Jones. I mean, he's pound for pound one of the best fighters of all time, one of the most exciting, and just like one of the best dudes, like personality pound for pound GOAT. I mean, just an awesome person, somebody you absolutely want to root for. But the thing that you're alluding to, Dan, and what you've already said is that this betting line is closer than it was the first time. And to me, that's like the recency bias. That's kind of the ludicrousy of the whole fight. There's nothing in that first fight. Yeah, it was a kind of a closely contested fight, but Islam was completely surprised by the level of Volkanovski's grappling. And inversely, I think Volkanovski was completely shocked by the level of Makhachev's striking. So who do I think is going to be able to make a bigger adjustment here? Do I think Makhachev can adjust his grappling to the nth degree, just the littlest amount, to make sure he secures position this time? Or do I think Volkanovski somehow has something else to offer better than he did the first time? I mean, I think he, you know what they say, when you shoot at the king, best not miss. I mean, I think he took his shot at the king, and he got about as close as you could get, but he missed, and he's not coming as close this time, especially not on 10 days' notice, not in his backyard anymore. You're in enemy territory. And I'm going to talk about that, I think, on a couple other fights as well. But being in enemy territory here is going to be a big deal. Volkanovski's completely cheered on through that first round. And it's just not going to happen here. Makhachev is going to define his legacy. And I think he's going to smother Volk to a boring decision.
Yeah, I don't disagree with a lot of that, even though my heart doesn't want it to be true, right? I want Volk to come in here. But here's the thing. It's like, this is crazy, and Volk's like a super confident guy, and I meant when I said that the belt, I believe that the belt means a lot to him. That's why I don't, and he says that himself, more importantly. That's why I disagree with this. He's got nothing to lose. It's just this lazy promotional narrative that gets trotted out there, and I get it. The UFC has to sell their pay-per-view, right? Like, I get what they're doing. But to see from, media pundits to analysts to the general population that should know better getting caught up in the craze, it's got to be a lot of recency bias. You used a great word there, right? And, I agree, because as somebody who picked Makhachev by decision, but also said in the breakdown that because people weren't giving Volkanovski a big chance, it was just the Makhachev fan base in waves, at its strongest pre-UFC 284. And I said in my breakdown, I'm like, Volk's going to be able to make this a lot more competitive, because grappling down the long stretch, unless you're able to shut the guy down early, grappling down the long stretch with a smaller, competent fighter is not an advantage just because you're bigger. Because if they are competent enough to stay afloat with you, they can grapple at a pace and at a mobility and at a speed that perhaps you're not comfortable with, especially as a more control-based grappler like Islam and Khabib is those guys. And that could tire him out down the stretch. And what did we see, right? Granted, it was a knockdown, not a takedown that ended him up on top, but still kind of a case in point as far as surviving, getting a better beat on the defense as the fight went on. But that's the thing. He's not going to be able to lean into that. You look at the adjustments between grappling to striking that Guru laid out. I agree. You kind of, if you want to dissect it that way, it's kind of a good way to do it. Because, again, the wrestling is kind of out of the equation. That was his most potent path from a prognostication standpoint before the fight that I pointed out. It was kind of proven after the fight. And now he's not going to have that option. And that's not just me prognosticating again. Because, again, Volk, the horse out of the horse's mouth himself, said the exact same thing. He's coming out here saying, he's like, no, I gotta finish this early. I gotta go wild at it. And not that Volk isn't a wild man. He was more of a wild man early on in his career, but that's not the best version of Volk, right? And he's gonna have to go do it in the striking, where he was getting countered. He showed some problems with that southpaw look. Makhachev's, was able to pick up on that, and now he kind of has a blueprint of that to go into this fight. I just don't like it, man. I don't like it. I played the under here, 4.5 rounds. I got it at plus 115, bet online earlier this week, and I just put 1.5 units on that. And then what I also did was, usually I think the hot rounds for and it's proven in this fight for not Chimaev, Makhachev is 2, 3, and 4. But with the short notice and the cardio thing advantage that Volkanovski is not going to have, I shifted that to 3, 4, and 5. So, in case the under doesn't hit, we still have that last minute for a big number, kind of Hail Mary, round 5.
Yeah.
Maybe he's looking better. He's the one that finally looks better in round 5 this time around because of the short notice intangibles. But yeah, I got Makhachev round 3 plus 1,200, round 4 plus 14, and then round 5 plus 1,800, 0.17 U each. And again, the 1.5 units on the under 4.5 at plus 115. So just over 2 units of exposure for me on this.
That's some significant exposure, Mr. Dantom.
We'll see. I mean, if it goes to the decision, it'll be bad news, but
That was like, because honestly, so was my thought about it, and I'm so glad to hear you talk about the finish. I kind of felt coming into this that I like the finish, especially because I'm like, these rematches, they don't happen the same way, different, and I kind of like the finish on the Islam side. It's what I have here written in my homework, in my notes. But what I kind of come back to is just like, am I swinging the wheel too far? Because I don't think that Islam's gonna knock him out, and I mean I could see the submission, but he's not gonna fucking tap. He's gonna have to go to sleep, and otherwise it's gonna have to be a Volk free KO, the Morales style. Otherwise, like, it's gonna be a boring decision. Volk has really good sub defense, which coming off the couch, it's not gonna sap your gas as much per se, like striking and clinch, against the cage and tons of scrambles would be, or something like that. If he's just blanketed and trying to defend chokes, maybe he defends them long enough to survive. That's my only. It's like, it's giving me agita. It's giving me agita, Dan. I'm sure you have some agita about it too, but you placed it. So what do you think?
Well, he could, and I get it. And part of me is thinking, is it favored again because of recency bias? Like, part of me was like, I thought Islam maybe could have gotten the finish the first time around, right? But if I'm being honest with myself, Greg, and I don't know if you do this or anyone here does this, maybe it's it's more my writing and putting it on Junkie where I go, I'm like, your fan. If I'm being honest, I'm like, did I put decision because I don't want to see? I'm already mad that I'm picking against my guy Volkanovski, and I don't want to see him finish. Like, at least I'm picking against him, but at least I'm leaving him the out. Even though I showed my work and that work showed to be true, yada yada. But at the same time, still, if I'm being honest here, like there's a little bit of that. And we talk about recency bias. We have to talk about these weird little things too, and I think that can be reflected in the line. And if you look at the line, it's almost like I haven't seen where it's gone, but it felt like it's narrowed into even money, almost either way. It's real tight, which means people don't know where to go with it. You could make that argument, right? And something to keep in mind, that we tend to forget about is the heat in the Abu Dhabi arena. The first time Charles was in Abu Dhabi, sure, but that 5-round war was in Australia. That wasn't in the heated arena of Abu Dhabi, So you're on that hot mat, and you've got Islam on top of you, who was ready and you weren't. And, Volk just recently had surgery on his left elbow. Like, that was enough to put out Bohachinia. And obviously he's not dealing with the same surgery, I don't think. And definitely not the same staph infection. But Volk is still, working out with his arm still wrapped up. That's not great, right? Charles was pulled for a cut. Volk, recently had, not as bad of a cut, but stitches on the same eyelid. Not but weeks ago. Like, this guy hasn't been able to train that much. And it's not even me speculating that, because the thing that I've cited that he himself has admitted to. I love Volkanovski. Don't kill me, Mark Fellows. I'll be happy to be wrong so long as he gets done under, because that's my bet here. But it is tough to back him, and I gotta believe there is some recency bias in that line. So it definitely could go to decision. Don't get me wrong. I do, and then I'll be standing with my dick in the wind. Missing 2 units. Hopefully I've cashed enough before then. But that's kind of how I felt about this fight, and that's how I attacked the board. It'll be sad to see if Volkanovski gets finished, but that's kind of what I see.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
All right, 4 Ounce to Freedom says, great show, guys. Dan, way back on MMA Betting Sharks group many moons ago on Facebook. Shout out to the MMA Betting Sharks, by the way. I remember you guys. I think I'm still on that. I'm just never on Facebook anymore is the problem. That's why I don't post in there. It says, Guru taking the Chronic Combat name to heart tonight with a heart. He's giving us love. I appreciate that. I saw my guy Lou Betcha in the house. He says, look at this handsome team. Let's get it, boys. I appreciate you, Lou. And I channeled my own Lou and shouted out Lou on the last show, because I finally have been getting access to like these kooky lines and those point deduction lines. Of course, I struck 0 on them last week, but boy, are they fun, those yam bags, and the yam bag master himself. We gotta give credit to Lou. James Kendrick, it's kind of sad that Volk doesn't have a full training camp for this. His preparation to counter the wall wrestling of Islam was real good. Yeah, it was, and I highlighted a bunch of analysis. I still took it very seriously on that end, folks. So hopefully I don't sound too doom and gloom from a betting breakdown perspective here. Before we move on, Ghost Phantom in the chat says, yeah, I agree with Dan. 11 days notice bums me out. Just because his prep work, film study, and execution hinges on a full training camp for the incredible strategic masterclass. Yep. And he's got to travel from Australia to Abu Dhabi, do all the media, do all the embeddeds. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is, you know, whereas the guys who were preparing, they don't even have to move anywhere. They're already there waiting to be fed, you know? So, Yambags, Rain Lamina knows what's up. Hey, Matt Pauly with the Super Mario Bros. Avi in the house. Another Thursday night fight breakdown with Dan Tom. Yes, sir. What is up? Since the southpaw matchup for Islam and good counters on his rear hand, do you think the jab, right hand to the body setup into the rear head kick by Volk is a good idea? You know, I think it could be, because that's what I was going to be looking for Charles to do, or some variation, kind of like we saw with Beneil, even though I don't think that was to the body. That was more like a Robert Whittaker-esque. But yeah, definitely not a bad idea. It's just, as much as I love the right hand of the body, there is counter exposure there in that matchup, and that's what we saw Islam Makhachev start things off. Hey, my guy MMA on the rocks, Billy Welks. Can we marvel at Dan's perfect hair for a moment? No. I appreciate you. I just got out of the shower, but I appreciate you, Billy Welks. Last one, Rios and Truesdale. Islam's counter striking is underrated. Alex said he has a good eye for an opening. Yep, it is very underrated there. So that's the dangerous thing if Alex's plan A is to go strike and do or die on this matchup. But yeah. All right, co-main event time. Let's go here. We've got minus 320 for Khamzat Chimaev. Kamaru-Usman plus 240, of course, was supposed to be Paulo Costa, like I said, with the elbow. In steps Kamaru on a similar 11 days notice. And yeah, Greg, what's your thoughts on this one?
What a interesting and excellent fight. I had kind of felt that UFC 294 got better on 10 days notice, and I am still sticking to that with this fight. Paulo Costa is, you know, I mean, I want to see him fight very badly, but we don't really know what we're ever getting with him. So eventually he'll fight, and I'll be very excited for that. I'm excited to see Usman fight. I just don't know that there's really much left in the tank here. I had talked with Luca Fury on Twitter yesterday, and Luca basically said that Usman's knees are held together by bubblegum and toothpicks. And they really are. I mean, he can't walk up stairs. He can't run for cardio. I mean, he's just not in very good shape. And obviously he's been dealing with those knee issues for a while. But all the tread on the tires, all the miles, and let's just be honest about who he's fought, okay? Leon Edwards twice, Colby Covington, and Jorge Masvidal. That's been his last, basically, 2 years in MMA. How do those fights look, guys? They're standing right. They're patient. It's counter strikers, really respecting each other's wrestling and grappling. Does that sound like Khamzat Chimaev to you? That guy doesn't respect shit. He's going to come forward with complete disrespect towards Usman until he earns it. And the only person that's earned it was Gilbert Burns. And I just think that Gilbert Burns has like just more firepower, even at certainly at that stage and now at this stage. It's a really bad matchup for Usman. And I don't necessarily think that the extra 15 pounds help him. He's used to being the bigger guy, and he is certainly not the bigger guy here. Give me the younger, faster, stronger guy at home. And let me take it one more step further, and I'm going to pass it off to the real guru, who's actually going to give you all the technical breakdowns. I watched Usman get taken down by outside leg trip by Leon Edwards and then give up complete mount immediately and then spend the next 2 minutes there unable to get up like a turtle. And I watched him give up his back and get almost fucking rear naked choke. So if Chimaev even gets anywhere close to that, he's getting a sub. So I like Chimaev by submission here. And maybe it takes a little while, but maybe it fucking doesn't. So just give me Chimaev and Chimaev submission.
Sorry, I was laughing at my dog stealing the bone from another dog there. But yeah, I think the submission is live, particularly by rear naked choke or the club and sub if like Usman shoots when he's hurt. That Darce lockup Chimaev has really fast to be there. So I don't blame you there. I didn't end up chasing it because I'm already exposed just over 2 units again for this fight as well. With an angle that would cover a finish no matter what it is. So to add it on at the price, now if I was just sniping at the submission price, it's fine if you can get it the +3 or north of that or whatever you can find it at. But it still wasn't kind of juicy enough for my blood. And I see the KO for me, to be honest, just because of the uppercuts. It's a shot that Usman has struggled with from early on, like his first fight with Hader Hassan. He rocks him with the uppercut, then Usman shoots and takes him down. And you see it all the way to his last fight with Leon Edwards, a different guy from a different stance. And that uppercut is still there because uppercuts, front teeps, which is something else that to the body, especially, that's something else that Chimaev religiously throws from both stances as well. One of his quiet shots there. I know he has heavy punches and good straight punches from both stances, but he's got a wicked uppercut to watch out for and body jabs. And of course the other one, which is not as much of a threat, though I wouldn't be surprised to see Chimaev throw it, which is, I always say, southpaw kicks, death, taxes, and wrestle boxers dipping into southpaw kicks because, again, most wrestle boxers are orthodox fighters, and they have a natural level change that they present in their stance and their fighting style, so they're going to dip in uppercuts, they're going to dip into front kicks, and they're going to dip more to their power side to the right, which is to southpaw or lead leg head kicks, right? So those are kind of the shots. Now, I could be right on those reads, and I think that Guru and anybody else on a sub ticket here can still cash that sub ticket. But instead of having to choose Parker, I ended up taking the under when it was at more playable chalk toward the beginning of the week. It's about the max for me for playable chalk, -155, but it was under 2.5 rounds, not 1.5 rounds. So there's a lot of coverage there, as well as for a possible Usman upset, though I'm not as bullish on that angle anymore, since even though, seeing that footage, say what you will, the fact is that's been an angle that me and many have been citing for a while. So anybody, much less Usman, bending over backwards to defend this Zapruder film footage, the fact is the guy's knees kind of have been notoriously held together, and it's not even just his knees. And again, I'll say this because I've kind of hinted at this before. People can get this because they know if you want to trace what coach me and Kamaru Usman has shared. But even back in like the 2015 days, it wasn't even his knee as much as it was his femur. I'm not a doctor, nor am I a big inside information guy. And for both reasons, I'm not, try to front and pretend to explain or explain in detail. But it's not even just his knee. His actual femur has trouble bracing and stuff. So that's why he's actually wearing a lot of the padding. And he actually used to have to wear, I don't know if he still does it, but Usman used to have to wear a girdle in training around 2015, 2016, 2017 because he has issues with his sternum. He actually has issues with stability in his sternum. Like, the guy is falling apart from everywhere for some time now. So anybody playing that angle, I don't blame you. But for me, it's more the 11 days notice. This guy has to be in, really get his body finely tuned. He's a hard worker, and just on 11 days notice, I'm not surprised that if he pops something or won't pop something in the fight. That's another reason why I kind of like the KO. Because his knee could go or something, and then and then he takes the paycheck, kind of can save face, right? And that's the thing, you would hate to think about championship fighters like Volk or Usman thinking this way, but guys, money talks. Guys, I don't know if you look at the price tags of things lately. It ain't cheap to be living in this world right now. You know what I'm saying? And and the UFC, this is one of the few spots where the UFC will pay out. And that's not even including the woo-woo stuff behind the money that they actually are getting from UAE and people to put on these shows here, and whatever money that them or the fighters could be getting to ensure that their guys are properly fed. Chimaev and Islam. I'm not usually woo-woo Russian Abu Dhabi guy, but I'm telling you, it's all the places are here. So I took the under, even though, to be honest, I think you can get a better price tag around -115 and -135. Just play Chimaev inside the distance, so you don't have to choose Parker. Just play that instead.
I was just about to say that.
And that's what I put. Yep.
We call it on the show. We call it Grandma's couch cushion. Don't mind a little Grandma's. Dig right into Grandma's couch cushion. You're not going to mind the little change. Take a little Grandma's couch cushion on the Chimaev sub. But I think you're right. Just play the Chimaev inside the distance. Yep. I don't imagine Usman lasting all 15. He may go 5 or 7, but I don't know if he'll go 15.
Yep, and I wrote it down. Khumshot under. That's kind of funny. Yeah, but I'm hoping for the I'm hoping the Khumshot release is under. You know what I'm saying? And we're in a refractory zone by round 2. But yeah, if I wasn't overexposed 2 units there, I would have played that. And I did my grandma's couch cushion on Chimaev round 1 KO at plus 450, which you can find at a better number, probably neighborhood of plus 500. Just a small quarter unit sprinkle, but yeah, that's all I got. So just over 2 units of exposure of the main or co-main. Anything else to add to that before we push on through, Guru?
That's it, sir. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna give a couple love to the chat real quick, then we'll push on, and I'll clean you guys up in a second. Rain Lamon, if Kamaru loses, do we call him the Kamaru Dean of being lean? I haven't heard Kamaru Dean in a while. That's good. Jimmy Kudo, do you guys think that Khamzat will open with southpaw, rear round high kick into a double leg like he did in his first 3 dudes he fought in the UFC? Yeah, he could. He does shoot on grapplers. He shot on Aliskerov outside of the UFC. He shot on Burns early. So it's not like he doesn't shoot on these guys who are good grapplers. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And lastly but not leastly, James Kendrick was the coach you and Kamaru shared named Neil Melanson. What? Huh? I'm going to give you a Kevin Holland answer. What? Huh? All right, next fight we're going to go is, let's see here. Best fight odds is all out of order, so I'm going to try to keep it in somewhat of an order for you guys, but I believe it should be Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker, so we'll just go there since Tapology is going to be slow and unloaded on me. Yeah, we got a minus 350 for Dagestani Stipe and plus 275 for Johnny Walker. Opened a little wider. Money is coming on Walker. What's your feelings on this one, Guru?
What a interesting fight you got here. You got Ankalaev returning after a I'm sure what he would call a very disappointing performance versus Jan Blachowicz, and you've got Johnny Walker on a 3-fight win streak, on a surge, and possibly looking like a new man now that he is somebody that supposedly maybe wants to use patience, exerts patience, be a counter striker, and not go completely berserk. But I think you, like an onion, if you peel back the layers of this fight, I think you start to see a couple interesting things, and one of which is that the thing that gave Ankalaev so much trouble versus Jan Blachowicz, right, is the ability, the levels of the counter striking, which is something Dan Tom is unbelievable at talking about, and the fact that Jan Blachowicz was able to check the kicks of Ankalaev, and that severely damages the legs of Ankalaev when he throws kicks. Johnny Walker does not throw. Johnny Walker does not check leg kicks, and Johnny Walker does not have the type of striking defense that Jan Blachowicz has. He's not the counter striker that Jan Blachowicz is. He's not the patient, cerebral fighter that Jan Blachowicz is. So then you look at Johnny Walker continued. Who has he beaten? He beat Ian Kudalaba, who likes to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. He fought Paul Craig, who we love, but has no chin at all and is very willing to just take his ticket, take his lunch, take his ball, and go home. And then you've got Anthony Smith. Why are you coming after my family? Having PTSD in the ring, trying to get himself together. Another guy who again I love his commentary, but he's completely falling apart body-wise, mind-wise, trying to convince himself that he can still do this. There's not really a good win to be found there for Walker. So for two things for Walker, if he comes out like apeshit, which is going to be his best chance to win. If he comes out apeshit, I think Ankalaev just puts him down because he's a better counter striker and he's actually vicious, which you've seen. It's just been a while. Or if Johnny Walker tries to come out and do his thing like he did versus Anthony Smith, be super patient and try to counter strike this guy, that's Ankalaev's bread and butter, and he'd be more than happy to oblige us with a nice boring decision where he outpoints and outworks Johnny Walker. So I don't really see or understand the value boys playing Johnny Walker here. I am not that guy. Give me Ankalaev. I think he's got something to prove.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Shout out to my guy Billy Wilkes in the chat. People underestimate how well people can wrestle or a wrestler's ability to perform without body parts. That is very true. And then my guy James Kendrick wants a Paul Craig. Shout, nothing can outrun a grease, Scotsman. Grease me up, woman. Not enough grease for Paul Craig to get through on that fight. I feel like I barely picked Johnny Walker, so I must come off as a real Johnny Walker hater. But I am not picking him again here. I do feel like it could be dog or pass. But even just from the Paul Craig fight and stuff before, against an opportunist, even like Walker, as long as he leaves Walker in there, it's going to be dangerous, right? And for that reason alone, it's both sketchy to be heavily exposed on Ankalaev, in my opinion, even though I'm picking him here, and I'm not wishing anybody badly if you're backing Ankalaev. And at the same time, it's tricky to back the underdog unless you're kicking for coverage, which you are getting a good enough number, even though it's come down about a whole dollar. You're still getting a good enough number in the plus 200s to kick for coverage on a dog there. And I suggest that's what you do if you like the Walker side, because again, Walker could get a sub, you could get a knockout, it could be round 1, it could be round 3 with a guy like Ankalaev. That's the unfortunate part if you're drawing up a path to victory for Walker. But I went through, and I actually have a Southpaw report that I was almost ready to do, but that's the reason why I was late, Guru and audience. I apologize. I was literally just right there, but I was running out of time. So I have it all right there, ready to go. I'm actually overachieving, trying to get you guys some video analysis there. But it's not good. I'll tell you this, it's not good. He's 2-3 against UFC level lefties. Of course, you have to go to the regional scene against Wagner, Prado, and Klidson Abreu. Not much Abreu footage, though he does lose by submission there. More on the Prado footage, and you can see that a lot of the ideas he has early on in his career against Wagner Prado have not really changed throughout all the camp iterations, including the more recent John Kavanagh SBG camp iteration. He mainly just does a lot of flash and feints, and it's a lot of posturing. But when people pressure him, he gets uncomfortable very fast. And basically, it's a lot of body or lead leg kicks to the lead leg or to the body from the rear. And he kind of works off that, and he's very counterable and will kind of run into the clinch if he runs in at all. And it's not a good look, pretty much. And the left hand, the counter right, the body teeps to the southpaw body tie kicks from Ankalaev are all going to be very live, just like Guru said, because his defense isn't well. So even though I'm picking Ankalaev and I'm more of a fan of contrarian angles of going over, you're not getting a ton of plus money on the over that I would like. I would like to be in the plus 200s for over of this fight, but they're more like plus 150, plus 120 for the over, plus 150 goes the decision. Not juicy enough for me. Again, for a fight that could end in multiple rounds on multiple sides, right? I almost want nothing to do with this. I probably will have nothing to do with this. The pick is going to be Ankalaev. And I'm going to pick him reluctantly to get a finish. Because if it goes to decision, this could be a weird one where it's what is Walker by decision if you want to play something stupid that, probably won't cash but will probably have a number? Because Ankalaev will allow guys to kick his legs before he adjusts, a little too late. I know it was an impromptu 5-round fight. There was a lot of pressure on him, but I just didn't like that look. And the fact that Ankalaev is not a submission guy, I feel like Johnny Walker, with his kind of somewhat underrated and some weekend athlete, where we get a really sketchy decision or something, even though you can lean into Russian woo-woo. They're not going to let Ankalaev lose in the cards. Perhaps. I'm not going to lean into that. These are actual real judges judging these fights, and there's enough volatility with real judges judging these fights that nothing would surprise me at this point.
I don't think it gets there. The more I'm thinking about it, and as I'm listening to you, I really don't think it's going to get there. Because like I was kind of saying, it's been 3 fights for Johnny Walker since he was absolutely electrocuted by Jamal Hill. How does right? They completely spazzed out. Are we sure that Ankalaev is not just gonna dust him really quick in round 1?
Yeah.
And take that cheap money and go home. This is his home crowd, man. This is totally different than
I think so,
what he's doing versus Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, it could be. It could very well be. Round 1 or round 2 is what I'm kind of leaning toward. But again, try to narrow that down for a play. I'm not really feeling too confident on anything here. Myself.
Ankalaev. It seems like Ankalaev by KO is plus 120.
Okay.
TB will tell me. I mean, I tell TB, and TB tells me I'm a slut for plus money. So if you're giving me plus money, I'm already interested. There's very few ways to legally double your money, so If Ankalaev by KO is one of them, I'm kind of interested.
I hear you. All right, we're going to go to Aliskerov next. He's another big favorite. I'm sure he opened close to this wide, more than likely, because it was Warlley-Alves. It's a short notice stand-in. I think one time he was supposed to face Paulo Costa. Aliskerov was. He's, of course, minus 625. Comeback on Warlley-Alves, plus 455. This I just pretty much auto bet round 2 because Aliskerov gets a lot of round 1 finishes as well, granted. But this is the bigger octagon to move around in. Alves, although not as good of grapplers, Aliskerov, obviously, he's also not a slouch in the clinch where Aliskerov can find himself. And Alves at least has some good bursts and dangerous bursts in the first round, and perhaps Aliskerov is not going to be too dumb and not rush things for this fight, knowing that once he gets into round 2, between the short notice and even Warlley-Alves on full notice, down at 170 pounds, will start to fall apart. He's a fade guy. I've been, kind of fading Alves back since cashing plus 540s or whatever the stupid number they put on Brian Barberina, baby. Back at UFC 198, that's right. But yeah, no, I got Aliskerov round 2. I think I got it at plus 310 or plus 333 or something like that. I don't know, but I put a Scottie Pippen on it, 0.33 units, and that's the only thing I touched on this fight. I feel like you're pretty priced out on a lot of things. What are your opinions, Guru?
Yeah, it's really tough to parlay Ikram Askarov as much as I expect him to get it done. I was there live at his debut, where he put Phil Hawes into a different dimension. That was an absolutely scary knockout. I mean, he was really asleep for a very, very long time. Yeah, I think you're really smart with the round 2 auto bet. That's always fun. You get a fun little prop there, fun little juice. I don't. He doesn't get as many submissions, right? So I kind of prefer the KO as well. I mean, actually, he's got 6 KOs and 5 submissions. So he's actually basically even. It's the 7 round 1 finishes. So. Yeah, you're probably right with the round 2 and not taking it a specific method in terms of trying to get too cheeky. So yeah, I had written down Aliskerov by finish minus 280 as like a parlay piece because I really do think he's going to get it done by finish. It's just why would you want to parlay this chalky chalk? So yeah, why not take the dart throw? I like that.
Yeah, I may actually throw. There is a parlay that I am pondering. It's a 5-legger, I know. But here's the thing: is whether it's just like a cheeky round 2, or maybe a more exposure like the main or co-mains where I've got under angles and specific finish angles. Even though I'm not a big parlay guy, the ideal way I like to parlay things are using parlay legs where I'm already have a good read and I'm invested in a particular finish. That way, if that finish doesn't happen, it's not shit in my cereal. It's like, well, at least we got the buy. You missed the sub, you missed the round prop. Okay, they win the decision. At least the parlay is still on the board. Again, that's more investment. Parlays are dangerous in MMA. I'm not a big fan of them personally. I'm more of a plus money hua like Guru over there. But that being said, that is the method behind that sort of madness, right? And some cards, maybe it can call for it. And it is hard not to get caught in the parlay thing. This kind of a card is more of a minesweeper parlay, where we're all playing the minesweeper game. We're seeing who's gonna shit in the proverbial bed, right, so to speak. Who's gonna shit in the cereal, and that's why I'm avoiding certain big favorites. But yeah, I'll give you guys the 5-legger that I'm perhaps potentially looking at for over plus 200 to perhaps put my last unit that I have reserved left in the bankroll. But we'll get to that toward the end. Opening the card is Saeed bet Nurmagomedov minus 225 versus Mokaev-Gafurov plus 185. I still haven't been able to run this one through the comb, but this one I feel pretty confident where regardless of what side I end up, it feels like a dog or pass. Do you have an opinion on this one, Guru?
I'm so happy to hear you say that because that's exactly where I ended up. I have a half unit on Gafurov money line at plus 185, and I actually really like the fight goes the distance at plus 120. Gafurov is a legit tank, and it take fucking nuke to finish that guy. He's crazy, and Saeed Nurmagomedov is a decent fighter. The spinning kicks, all the just the spinning attacks, the explosivity is very impressive. However, both him and honestly Gafurov do not, maintain their energy very well. They don't. They're not very efficient. Would be the proper way to word that. They're not very efficient with their energy.
Yeah.
So that could be problematic, and it's exactly why I kind of lean towards the dog. The dog in Gafurov. I mean, he missed weight, I think, versus Lapalus and had that fight canceled. That was not good. But he gets another chance to do it around here on possibly more welcoming soil. And, if you look at his John Castaneda fight, right, he takes that fight on short notice, is, in my opinion, on his way to winning round 1 before he gets dropped. Then round 2, he's going to win that round and then decides to kind of use his head a little bit and lead forward, gets a point taken. And then round 3, he's already too tired from the short notice to keep going, and he loses the decision. But, I just think that, Saeed wasn't really... I thought I was pissed when he lost to Jonathan Martinez, like, live. I was like, that's a robbery, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And then I watched it back, and I'm like, okay, well, he's really tired at that 7-minute mark. This is just not a good look. I was like, okay, you know what? That's totally fair. He definitely didn't necessarily win that fight.
I love hearing that. No, because that's the truth, though, right? I mean, if you're
100%.
honestly going back to watch these fights and you know what you're watching and you're being honest with yourself, that happens all the time to me myself. I'll be like, I thought this was. I'm like, this was closer than I thought, or so on and so forth, right? Like, yeah.
You're emotional. You're in the heat of the moment. I was biased while watching the fight, and that's fair. But while I'm doing my tape for this fight, I'm not biased, and I'm like, wow, okay, was optically just really not a very good look. So I find myself really liking the fight goes the distance, and a dog shot seems necessary.
I like that. I actually don't mind that at all. I'll see where I end up, so I'll save too much. I will say, just add to that fight, the Saeed Martinez fight. I love that card because I was so pissed drunk. Shout out to my guy Martin P, who helped get me drunk. God damn it, because I don't remember most of the fights on there, even prelims. I'm like, oh god, this card. I'm like, I was at this card, UFC Las Vegas, and I don't remember because I was just so trash. But I do remember having like a Happy Gilmore, Lee Trevino moment. Because I was just like going crazy for Martinez, like Martinez, just being like, like completely obnoxious, and like some dude in front like kept looking at me, and like back at me, like what the heck? Because I was just like, come on, get him! Shout out to James Kendrick here. He says I called Saeed on Chronic Combat Conversations the Valor stealing Nurmagomedov because he's not related. So I was yelling, he's not even related. And it's just some guy like just turned around and looked at me and gave me like the Lee Trevino. He put his hands in the air, like shrugged, like, "What the fuck, bro?" And I was just like, "What? What's true?" Like feeling like I need to defend myself or something. And the guy was clearly like rooting for like, because there was a lot of like Eastern European people. Thankfully, I feel like it was mainly Georgians around me, so I didn't get too many people pissed at me. But there was definitely some Russians up in the crowd, right? So I'm like, I'm going to piss some people off here. And, of course, Martinez gets it. And I was just so obnoxious. I was not classy. I was like, yeah! Just cashed a big, stupid dog ticket, and he's my guy, right? But, yeah, I've never been really too trusting of Saeed Nurmagomedov. So, this fight next is interesting to me. Headlines the prelims. Could have been on the main card as well. Flyweights, baby. Muhammad Mokaev, minus 425. You actually opened wider. Money has come in on Tim Elliott. Plus 330. What's your opinions on this one, Guru?
I come into it maybe thinking about a dog shot on Tim Elliott, but I don't think I can get there. I'm gonna maybe I'll change my mind again at face-offs weigh-ins type thing, but I don't think so. Mokaev is the younger fighter. He is the bigger fighter. By he's at least got the reach advantage significantly, and age I think is going to be important. Speed I think is going to be important. I was thinking that Elliott might be able to like show him some interesting looks on the feet and frustrate him, and then maybe if it came down to cardio, could Elliott possibly be the one with better cardio? And I was very curious to ask you how you felt about this, as you asked me how I feel, but I just felt I ended up coming away and deciding that Tim Elliott is just somebody that's just kind of too open to being controlled, like too malleable to top control. And he's been subbed, how many times? 6 times, 5 times. And it's just something I can't overlook in this young, hungry kid at home. So I kind of lean fight to end by submission at plus 175, like that type of angle. Maybe I don't have to pick a side in that respect. It's only just like a finish, but I don't want to parlay Mokaev like I want to parlay last name fighters.
Yeah.
What do you think?
See, I feel you there. Mokaev is the guy that's last on this roll call for this parlay, right? Because I am, spoiler alert, he's going to be my prop squad pick. I did a little flyer on Mokaev round 3 if that answers who I think will have the cardio advantage, at least on paper. But it was tough because Elliott, as a flyweight getting older, his cardio has been kind of fleeting him for some fights and years now, if you really look at it. But if you go back to the last fight, was his cardio better? It was a new camp, but was it because it was an Apex fight without the excitement of the crowd? No offense to Victor Altamirano. It was a really matchup he should have won. A guy who was super green, did not have wrestling, right? You know what I'm saying? And even when he was able to defend takedowns in that round 3, I believe, didn't he jump for guillotines and was practically giving the fight away? Shooting himself in the foot. Not that I picked him to win and not that he was favored to win, but still, right? So it's one of those things where you're not trying to S on Tim Elliott or Victor Altamirano. I like both guys, but how much information can we really take from that, right? Whereas Mokaev, it's his turnaround. It's we have guys knockouts. I know it looked nasty with the knee ligament thing, but if he was all right and he showed pictures of him training and moving around on it, if I recall, weeks later, which was kind of nuts, but I saw it for myself. How much do we speculate for it? And I'll tell you what we can take from that is, even though he is not a dog, he's a big chalky favorite, Mokaev is a fighter that will fight for your money, right? By the way, shouts to Chronic Combat. Hit one for me right now, buddy. But yeah, he is a guy that will fight for your money. So that is one good thing if you want to put money on this guy, right? And even in bad performances, you want to point to the Malcolm Gordon. I know Malcolm Gordon gets a ton of crap. Because he's subject to kind of like Johnny Walker, except without the as amazing highlight reel, right? He is better than he is given credit for, but he falls apart at a blink of an eye, like that great point you brought up earlier, Guru, about Johnny Walker, right? So, but even in fights where it's not going well, he'll pull it out in that third round. So perhaps we see the return of the bad cardio. It's going to be a scrambly fight that I think Elliott can win. But again, I think he's going to be putting himself in the danger zone. And I say this as a guy who loves his grappling style. I was just watching the Peterson rolls he was doing. It's the same stuff that old Dan Tom here loves to do. Some old man, tricky wrestler, tricky trickster stuff. You know what I'm saying? I love it, but I also know that it puts you in precarious positions, and even if you don't get taxed with a submission, which he has, and I as soon as this fight was booked, I just thought of that Davis and Figueiredo guillotine loss, which happened early, and that could happen here, which is why I put a unit, Mokaev by sub plus 200, in case he gets it in any round. So I'm already exposed 1.133 units total for this fight, so I'm do I want to have more exposure and parlay him? I'll talk about the other leg that I'm thinking about mixing him up with. But the pick is Mokaev by sub. But even though my money's on him, I'm a big Tim Elliott fan, man. The dude's been through so much. I'm so sympathetic to his story that part of me will be really happy to be wrong here.
I agree with that sentiment 100%. The Mokaev finish is plus 145. I know he only has 1 KO on his record, but I would be very sad if he somehow got I don't know, just clipped him or something, or there was just some random reason why he got a KO instead of a sub.
Hopefully it's in round 3.
Yeah, that would be good at least. The one thing I would be remiss to mention, since I don't believe we did, is just the bad look that Mokaev was giving versus Malcolm Gordon.
Sure.
In some of those scrambles and some of those opportunities, and that the Tim Elliott sub prop is plus 1,500.
Woo!
So
I love that number.
I know it'll never happen, but
I feel like it's even hard to like hunt down those bigger numbers on this kind of a card because yes, Ray Lamina, he says, is this a card we call very chalky? You are picking up on the betting parlance correctly, sir. Good on you. It absolutely is. Jimmy Kudo is a home court advantage real in MMA. Should that be a PED that should be banned? Home crowd cheering. I don't know about that, but there is arguable advantages there, I'd say.
I think it depends on the specific fighter and stuff like that, and sometimes the specific matchup. But just for specific conversation purposes, if you have ESPN Plus, go rewatch, or it's probably on YouTube. Go rewatch Islam Volk 1 and tell me that Volk and the crowd the crowd does not have a huge bearing on Volk and Volk's performance. I just think it's impossible to deny.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I will speak on, too. There's that human nature aspect. All right, pushing down the card, we got Trevor Peek, minus 166. Muhammad Yahya, plus 140. I didn't see much on Yahya that impressed me from the little I went to see on him. And then matching with what I remember from Peek. This is like one of those fights on the card. There's a couple fights like this where you're like, how is this guy favored? And then you look into it, you're like, oh, okay. I can see it.
That's exactly how this happened. He was like minus. It was like pick'em, and I wasn't there yet. I didn't see the line yet, and then TB sent me the line at like minus 125, and I was pissed that I had missed pick'em. So I was stubborn. I'm like, you know what? When I look into it, then I'll get there. And then he ballooned up to minus 160, and I'm like, what the hell did I miss? And then I went and watched the tape, and I'm like, okay, now I get it. I maybe shouldn't have been spiteful.
And then you're like, oh, well, he opened close. Or for me, it's like add on, oh, well, he opened closer to the dog odds, so perhaps the props are still priced that way. Nope, you're priced out of his KO prop as well, pretty much, at least in my opinion, if you want to go play it.
Maybe, I don't know. You can get the Peak round 1 KO at plus 250 on FanDuel.
See, I think he's live in round 1 and 2, though. I can't pick between round 1 and 2.
Wait, okay. There's more. It also comes with free shipping and handling. No, you can get Peak round 1, round 2 KO, the grouping on FanDuel plus 130. How do you like them apples?
Wow, I don't have FanDuel, but I love those lines. If you guys have access to it, I say it all the time. Those are all. I always love those same game parlay multiple prop together lines that they offer you at those houses. So that's a great shout there. Unless there's anything else on this matchup, I just want to push on to the next one. We got Yavid Basharat, minus 575. Victor Henry, plus 425. I'm a big Basharat fan. Drillers make killers, and I think he's got some underrated takedowns and grappling that he can stay away from subs and perhaps score on top if he needs to. Because Henry, of course, the dynamic here is he likes to extend the exchanges, whereas Basharat likes to control them. That's the kind of basic dynamic I see. Quickly, I guess, with that dynamic being said, I will still pick Basharat, but I feel like Henry is a live dog, especially at that number, so much so that if you are going to perhaps be at a counter like I am tomorrow, where they don't let you do cute round robins, they make you pick money lines, well, that means you got to pick dogs, and that also means you got to pick dogs that are decent plus numbers if you want to turn a profit on that. And if I do one of those funny dog parlays where I'm putting dogs that I didn't even pick on there, well, Victor Henry's going to be one of those at that number. Do you have any opinions on this one, Guru?
Yeah, I think Victor Henry will end up being a live dog shot simply because it's going to end up going to decision, and the judges could be smoking crack or not paying attention or jerking off. Like, I don't know what they're doing during the fights. So I don't know, but it's generally not watching the fights. So whatever, like, all good. So what I really do like here as a parlay piece is not Javi Basharat. It's fight goes the distance at minus 225. Victor Henry never been finished in his pro career, and Javi Basharat is somebody with 3 decision wins in his 3 UFC fights. So I think more of the same will continue. And if you think that for some reason there will be a finish, then you'd have to figure it's going to be on the Javi Basharat side. The dude's pretty talented.
Sorry, the last venue a judge should be playing pocket pool is definitely one that is in Abu Dhabi. The most excusable venue.
Pocket pool?
Yes, but the most excusable place for a judge to do that is if they were calling a Strikeforce Playboy Mansion card.
Yes.
There's a spectrum. There's a spectrum there for you.
Oh my God. Now, what about one of those cards on the beach? When did they do those? Outside.
Bodog, yeah.
Yeah, it's Bodog. Thank you. That would have been a good one. A Bodog fight.
Could you imagine just if there was a judge at those backstage meetings that you saw like MMA fighting do with this California commission, and just like now Judge Minor, what did you have for round 2? I don't know. I came. I thought he was gonna finish and I came. I'm sorry. All right, yeah. Next score.
Literally, exactly. Oh my goodness.
Sorry, I don't want to go down a dirty sick road that I'm taking you guys down. But yeah, the live dog is what to say is that Victor Henry is. Next fight, this is a perfect. How is this guy favored? Then you go look at it closer. You're like, okay, I guess. Cedric Dumas minus 238 and Abu-Azaitar, brother of the Potato Man, plus 190. Any thoughts on this one, man?
What's in the bag? No, I mean, we know it was in the bag. It was IDs. Yeah, listen, I really like Cedric Dumas, and similarly, I had missed the line at like minus 150, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm sure we got a little bit of time. Nope, the line has just continued to steam up from minus 200 to minus 230. The end of the day, I just don't think Abu-Azaitar really is going to have much for him. Dumas is not necessarily going to get knocked out, right? I mean, he's got a decent chin. Frem's freaking huge and has such a grappling side to him that made that fight so difficult for Dumas, who also was taking that fight on short notice because he was supposed to fight Abu-Azaitar. A little side note. So that was an interesting matchup. Abu hasn't fought since he got finished 2 years ago, and before that, he somehow beat Vitor Miranda in 2018. But when you watch that fight, you watch Vitor Miranda take him down, hold him down. You listen to the commentary. He can't get up. The only way he can is by exploding. He has absolutely no technique. And what have you seen Dumas do other than fight like Gumby? He will actually go for well-timed takedowns, use position over submission. Like he actually is a sound fighter occasionally when he wants to be. So with all that being said, I actually do like Dumas here. Maybe you take a hedge sprinkle on Abu KO round 1 or Abu KO at like plus 420. I just don't see it though. I really don't. I think Dumas gets it done. Dumas KO round 2 or 3. Grouping is plus 550.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I'm also not lining up to play this fight. Best of luck to you. I saw some people hitting some plays on these. I'm like, man, you guys know me, man. This level of prelim is not my that's not my jive. Especially Dumas at chalk prices is not very sexy to me. But he does seem that he can beat fighters who fall apart on him or make bad decisions, like Brundage, I believe, did, and Abu-Azaitar can fall apart. I will say, just go back and watch that Marc-Andre Barrio fight, just to watch Jaron Vallel. I've never seen a ref. I know we're talking like, oh, they're afraid for the Russian fighters, and of course the Azaitar brothers. They have some. Let's just say they put the gas on some guys with some government backing, with some royal backing. Let's just say, right? There's some ties there. And I know we're making jokes on the judge, and we're just having a good time here. But I will say, with all seriousness, you want to talk about that conjecture, if you will, those theories of connections.
No, that's not a theory. That's not a theory.
It is not. It's real.
Fact. No, that's fact.
These are scary guys, and people are scared of them. Okay, like go watch that Jaron Vallel fight. I've never seen a ref so afraid to stop a fight. Like it should have been stopped. Like. Around late. It was stopped like a round late, okay? And even as he stops the fight, like you never hear the ref, like usually the fighter's like, why did you stop it? And the ref's like, no, I made the right call. No, and they're cold as ice, right? Like Vallel is like apologizing and pleading, going, I'm sorry, I had to stop it. Like, he's apologizing to like, I don't even know if Abu's even complaining. He's so beat down, like, but it's probably for the cameras. Like, I don't know if like, like that's why I kind of gave Magomed Ankalaev a break for making such bad decisions and his corner being so sloppy in the Blachowicz fight, because like you saw how pissed off Kadyrov, the dictator, got that he lost that fight. Like, you know how much pressure was on those guys like to perform.
Yeah,
like there's some quiet pressure here. These aren't just jokes, to the point, but I'll just leave it at that.
Sit down and the little bunny gets it.
Yeah. For that reason alone, I will stay away from that fight.
Old South Park.
Yep, there we go. Shout outs to Old South. That's about the only old South Park that I know, to be honest. Same
Oh
with,
no, you gotta go
Family
watch that, man. That's my favorite.
It's good stuff. I don't got much to say about this one, though. Anshul Jubli -278, Mike Breeden +225. I feel like, it's dog or pass, if anything, but I didn't look into this fight too deeply, so I'm not going to, say anything with confidence here. What do you got, Guru?
I have to speak with a little bit of confidence because I got in on Mike Breeden at +275 because of TB texted me. I was reading some texts. He's like, "Hey, get in on 275. It's moved to +250 at other books," and we got in. And then I went to do my tape, and I ended up agreeing with it, just in the fact that you look at Jubli, and there's nothing excellent about him really at all. There's nothing that jumps out on paper. He's just not very exciting. There's nothing about him that should be Maria's. And then you look at Mike Breeden. He got the shit end of the stick. He gets a short notice call to the UFC, has to fight fucking Alex Hernandez. That sucks. Okay, you get knocked out there. That's understandable. Then you fight Natan Levy, and, let's just be honest. That's a really, really, really close fight. And somebody like you, Dan, I would love for you to go back and watch that fight and really judge it by the letter of the judging criteria.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's one of those really tough fights where Natan Levy gets all these takedowns, but it's not really much control time with it or damage with it. And Breeden, I think, lands the more damaging shots. He maybe could have won that one. Really close fucking fight. And then he's supposed to fight Lando Venata, and Venata pulls out. So who does he get on short notice? Fucking Terrence McKinney. That's not fair. And then to add insult to injury to us as the better, you're trying to put one over on us. How are you gonna have Jubli as a bigger favorite to Breeden than Terrence McKinney? Is Jubli somehow better than Terrence McKinney? Is he more vicious? Does he have more finishing upside? I don't think so. Give me Breeden to I don't know, just pull off an upset or make it close. Fuck it. Because Juli's shown nothing to deserve anything. I picked Jekasaraki over him. So, whatever that's worth.
No barking, dog. Sorry, guys, for the barking here. Brownie, Ben, relax. No one's there. Sorry, guys. I don't disagree with any of that. The dogs are barking. They agree with you, right? So that's a good sign, at least. The dogs are barking for Breeden. And to be honest, I think that, especially with Gafurov, who's going to be one of those fighters where, whether I pick him or not, he's a live dog, and when if he was going to get to +2-1, I would definitely throw him on that round robin, because if you have a 4-leg round robin, for example, you can't have more than you can have more than one plus money leg that's under +2-1, but you really they gotta be +180s, +170s, and hope both those hit to cover the rest, so to speak. And if that line's not sexy enough, I may actually throw Breeden on there with Victor Henry, maybe even maybe a Johnny Walker for the number, but again, I wouldn't be too confident in that. I'm picking Ankalaev here, folks. You kind of mess around with a bit, or an underdog that's also 2-1, who I am playing down at the bottom of the card. So we'll get to that. But yeah, I'm gonna try to look into that, like you said, Guru. Because I feel like that's just like a dog that's just calling your name. It just feels dumb to not take a flyer on.
I think you have to, and for one last reason, because if you were listening during the press conference today, one dude just asked a simple question about Indian MMA, and he got absolutely booed, like a chorus of boos. Jubli is going to be in enemy territory.
Yeah.
This is a racial thing there. They're not his friend. They are not going to be rooting
I don't understand that
guy
here. Wow.
So it's I'm not a I'm not some sort of expert on Middle Eastern culture or politics, but they're not a big fan of India there. So I think they're going to be rooting against him big time. This is not going to go well for him at all.
Right. Well, I like and root for a guy like Mike Breeden anyway, so that shouldn't be too hard. Next fight, Nathaniel Wood -325, Mokaev-Elliott +260. I haven't gotten a chance to look into this one, but this one feels like a tricky fight, both by the prediction on how it will end, maybe so much. You're does it go the distance? What does it do? I think it does go the distance. I'm picking Wood by decision, but since I can't pick it, I probably won't have time to dive deep, and even if I do, between the numbers and the style of matchup, I don't know if I want to dive too deep, even though I feel pretty good about Wood's volume if he can avoid the opportunistic counters. That's the basic dynamic at play here for this matchup. But I will say that 5-legger I was talking about, I was thinking about maybe, Wood was the guy I'm thinking about replacing Mokaev with, because I don't know if I'm that confident to put even more exposure on that Makhachev fight, and you're actually getting a better price on Wood, which would improve the overall price on the parlay that I'm already looking at. That's all I got for this one, but what do you got on this one, Guru?
Yeah, I think this fight's really interesting because you have a guy in Naimov who won his last fight, his debuting fight, on short notice, but up a weight class versus Jamie Malarkey, who, was dominating him the entire time, and he just kind of catches him with a great punch. I'm thinking that Nathaniel Wood is going to be quicker, more technical, and have more output. But the problem is, like we talked about, is do I see Nathaniel Wood getting a finish? No. Nathaniel Wood has 5 decisions in a row. So with that being said, I'm not sure you can parlay him or play him at minus 300. Or if you're going to, what I would suggest or at least say is Naimov, right, is a guy that has 4 KOs, right? So he's generally winning by KO. I would kind of look to hedge out with a Naimov KO plus 600, and especially because we've seen somebody in Wood who's been, rocked by Andre Feely, and knocked out before by John Dodson. So, and that's would kind of be the way that I'd see him losing. But otherwise, because you'd also have to figure Naimov would be privy to those that extra Abu Dhabi bonuses. So, otherwise I think Wood could get it done. Round 3 decision, Wood minus 125.
Yeah, they seem more interested in marketing Tajikistan than India, so that wouldn't be too crazy either. And then Wood by decision, it's only like barely plus money, so it's not even worth throwing in a round robin for little exposure. You know what I'm saying, for that kind of money. So yeah, I actually don't hate at all what you said for a hedge or just a sprinkle. We'll see. We'll see where I end up if I use him or Makhachev, because the next fight, Victoria Dudakova minus 535, Jinyu Frey plus 400. Basically, love me some Fortis MMA, but Frey has just kind of been painful to watch in more ways than one, man. I don't know if she's got anything left in her. And Dudakova should not be this favorite over anybody, but for this matchup, I get it. The stupid chalk parlay that I was looking at was Dudakova, Makhachev, Chimaev, Aliskerov, and then the 5th leg, if you do Mokaev, it's plus 210 to plus 13 in that neighborhood for 1 unit. Or if you take out Mokaev, put in a better price tag at Wood, I'm imagining you're getting plus 215, plus 220. And then it's just by any means necessary. So if the cutesy ways that I took the legs, even though I didn't take anything and don't plan on taking anything for the Dudakova side, those are covered for the other angles. Again, it's not something that I am going to do or I have done or I'm telling you to do. Doesn't even sound like that sexy of an idea. But as far as the, we're doing sprinkles here, we're maybe taking some dog shots. Let's have these plays anchored in with something. And if you are going to anchor in, if you are going to go chalk, if you are going to venture a parlay, these Russian big favorite, the closest you get to Bellator cards that UFC does, you could do worse if that is your style. Not my style, not a sexy style in my opinion, but again, it's the styles that makes the fights, right? It's the styles that call for the different style of betting, and that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Dan Tom, have you considered a PRP style of bet for at least this card, if not for cards moving forward?
Yeah, I think, and shout out to my guy CJ Saftig, man. He scored a big one there, the Dogger Pass podcast with Paul
Shag. He hits him all the time. He's sick. He's a sick fighter. He's unbelievable.
Great.
He's unbelievable.
And he's definitely the parlay guy if you want someone for parlays, by the way. But for me, yeah, I agree. But you're still probably looking at a top line for that of like, parlays are bad anyways, even if it's just 2. I look at it the same way. But if we're like, if we're talking about 3 or 5 legs, like to me, a 3 leg is arguably just as risky as a 5 leg. If we're talking about MMA, and I feel like you would still need a 3 leg for that proverbial top line. And I'm sure.
So start CJ there. So start there. So start with a 3 leg and start from there. What you're like?
Maybe
if you do Islam and Chimaev, you're already at like minus 120. So if that's your top line, which is not bad top line, and then for me personally, I'm putting in Ankalaev. I feel good about that because then if you're really getting that far ahead into the card, you can hedge with a Walker KO at plus 500 or whatever the hell. So that's cool. And then you from there you kind of decide how you feel about confidence level and which money line's actually going to help your PRP the most. Because while my confidence level in Aliskerov is high, he's not going to help your PRP very much at a minus 700. So I think you should consider it, Dan Tom. Because
I'll see. Yeah, you know what?
When you know what too, man, you'll be thinking of me.
Well, you know what? Or maybe inside the distance or an under Aliskerov, and I use that as a leg because the book that I go to, even though they have the crappy round robin options, they do let me parlay stuff like totals into the parlay and stuff. So I can do that because that's definitely gonna whatever the under is going to be cheaper price than whatever his money line is. And not that Worley has a big chance, but hey, you've got coverage for whatever percentage points that's worth, right? If Worley gets a finish. So that's actually a good idea. I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger yet. You could talk some sense into me. Let's knock out this last one and get out of here. It's been a great show so far. Hit the like button if you haven't already. We've got James Bond villain with James Bond villain name attached, Sharaputin Magomedov, minus 305, plus 245, Bruno Blendado Silva. This actually did not open wider and has trickled down to earth like most of the lines that are wide and have on this card. No, this actually opened tighter. And I saw this and I bet this not live just before we went live, but with a witness here, Guru. I got it at plus 241. I believe he opened at plus 140. So that's a whole dollar inflation. I mean, that's value right there that I can't pass up. Bruno Silva is the more proven product. I know he's coming off of a bad look on Brendan Allen, but these Brazilian cowboys, they kind of break these trends, both from longevity to their kind of bounce back, even when they shouldn't, when they have to travel, is not uncommon. If you want to go by woo-woo, what beats heavy Russian chalk? What's it always been? It's been these Brazilian dogs, baby. Look at Makhachev's record. Look at Tibau versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Look at, even going to ACA and stuff that, like, I can name fighters that most people don't follow. And a lot of those upset, it's that Brazilian vet that comes across and travels. The old trope, the brave Brazilian at underdog odds. And that is Bruno Blendado Silva here. He doesn't have a reliable takedown game to get off his devastating ground and pound, but his punches are devastating whether he's standing or on the ground. I know it was a bad look from Mearshart. He seems to be inconsistent. He'll look good, he'll look bad, he'll look good, he'll look bad. And even though the win-loss doesn't necessarily reflect that way, that dynamic actually does go up and down for what that's worth. And for what it's worth, he's due for a good one here. He did take it against Brendan Allen against short notice, and Brendan Allen proven to be legit. So yeah, man, just give me a shot on Silva against a guy who's a Wushu Sanda guy who, his record between, I can't tell the record or the competition level between his assaults and mauls on people showing affection to these random mixed rules bouts. The limited footage that feels like has been detracting less and less of the guy. Doesn't seem to like boxing range too much. That is enough for me to just take the shot on Bruno Silva.
Dan, he doesn't like boxing range too much. Why do you think his depth perception might be a little off?
Yeah, it's true. That is true.
This guy would never be sanctioned to fight in the United States, and he never will. So this is very freaking weird matchup. I'd be very happy to see Bruno Silva kick this POS's behind the fuck out of here. I mean, I don't really like him. The problem is I just don't know what I'm getting in Bruno Silva at all. He goes, he gets knocked out by Brendan Allen and then gets choked out. I mean, if Brendan Allen decided to keep going for the knockout, he would have got it instead. Brad Tavares fight, that's like nearly went 50-50. He's nearly knocked out, knocks out Brad. Brad basically, unfortunately, has almost a worse chin than he does. And then other than that, who has he beat? He beat Jordan Wright? I mean, that's really not a good look. Like, it just hasn't been good. And then, of course, on the Magomedov side, I mean, he's really beat absolutely nobody. There's nothing but red flags and tomato cans. So it's very, and he went to decision with a lot of two of his last three fights. One was a decision, one was a round 3 knockout. Both were disgusting. I kind of just lean with the under 1.5 at minus 110, but You know,
I
you
like
could
that.
also, yeah, you know, and maybe I would take a sprinkle because Magomedov has 7 round 1 knockouts. Just means that he's going to get it in round 2. Round 2 is plus 500. So who knows?
Man, forget this parlay. I shot on Bruno Silva with like, another unit on the or just north of a unit to cover the 1 unit shot by playing that under.
Yeah, and you know what? That's also something else I wrote. And since you know what, you're on Bruno Silva, I'll make note of it. Bruno Silva has 14 round 1 finishes, 20 KOs in
Yeah.
his career. Bruno by round 1 KO is plus 900. Dan Tom.
Woo. I don't think they'll let me put that one in the round
don't
robin.
Don't you live in Vegas?
Yeah.
What? There's millions of book. I don't understand. Why can't you book? But they kick you out of the casino.
No, they just don't. They don't offer good round robins.
Anywhere in Vegas? There's places.
I'm sure there's places, but I haven't found any. The book I go to is I know the sports book manager. He used to be the guy from Mandalay Bay. He's the one who gave me the in on when Bang Cunts happened. Back in that, everybody remembers that legendary get. That may or may not have happened at the sports book. So he's a trusted guy that I follow, for one.
Right.
For two, that book, even though they have crappy round robins, they have really good stupid round prop numbers, which you know me, I love playing hot rounds.
Yeah.
They let me parlay things that some of my online houses don't let me parlay. So it's kind of a good balance. Whereas the cute round robins that I post, I play those, full disclosure. I've been playing those on BetMGM, which, again, I've got like a nice route to go into the BetMGM. Plenty of those houses out here too.
Okay.
But again, it's kind of like the doubling where I don't really need to because I can just play it and withdraw my funds online. So that's another reason why I don't go to those houses.
Yeah.
But I also just opened up a William Hill, which may actually let me get cheeky. It might let me do that now that you mention it. I'm going to go check there. Shout out to my guy Martin P. So you're right, there are options, but when it comes to the round method props and getting that cheeky with it, it is harder, whether we're talking to online houses or actual Vegas houses, to find that. And just because you live in Vegas, people think you get the best lines. No, there's always weird little things like you get this here, you get that here, and what we don't get is what you motherfuckers get to feast on, which are DraftKings and FanDuel's lines. So
yeah,
in a weird way, we actually have gotten some of the short end of this. So when I'm complaining, it's legit. I'm not making this stuff up, folks. It is weird out here, weirder than you would think.
Yeah, I've never been to Vegas. I of course would love to go.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in like the second mecca of that. Like I'm an hour from Atlantic City.
Yeah, baby.
But interestingly, like you're saying, you didn't really get as much access to the online books. Where once the legal online gambling became here, I mean, I get everything in terms of DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Bet365, PointsBet, Caesars, William Hill. I mean, there's so many books you can put yourself into debt.
Well, there's a reason why only in the last month you guys finally saw me do a Yambags play and a split decision prop. Like, it's because I haven't had access to these lines. Like, it's just what it is. So for Silva, I'm actually thinking I already put him at a unit. If I have the extra ducats, it's like, man, I'm honestly more attracted to either do a Breeden play. Because I figure, okay, in my head, I'm like, I just need one of those to hit, right? Like, I don't expect both to hit, but, Silva or Breeden, one of those got to hit. We got to get some dogs. Some dogs got to hit in general on this card, right? According to those rules. But it's like, yeah, do I do Silva by KO maybe and get cheeky from there? I don't know. It's such a good line. Also in my round robin. And in that round robin, I'm probably going to have Makhachev by sub in there. I'm probably going to have Chimaev by KO in there. And for the third one, I'm dancing between maybe something for Aliskerov, but again, most of this stuff's priced out unless I want to repeat a round 2 sprinkle there. Or maybe, again, I throw like a Breeden or something in there if I don't have enough balls to play him. I get something in that aspect. But so just to let you guys know where I'm going with that before we recap picks and plays here. Man, Guru, this was a fun breakdown, man. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Dude, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I mean, should I plug myself? I mean, I just,
you can,
later.
but I'm gonna clean up. I'm just gonna clean up the chat before we get out of here. Yeah. We got James Kendricks. Sorry, what's up?
Nothing at all, man. Seriously, just awesome being here. We had a good ass time.
This has been a great time. Hopefully you guys are having fun time in the chat. I'm going to pay off some of your guys' stuff before we get out of here. It always makes me smile when Dan does his Paul Craig impressions and the Ian Gary. We're not here to be Irish. We're here to be Brazilian. impression. There we go. We'll get some more Ian Gary impressions coming our way, I believe. MMA on the Rocks. Dan, love you, brother. But it's bedtime on the East Coast. We'll catch up on the rest tomorrow. Cheers. Thank you for stopping by, Billy Welks. Check out his channel, MMA on the Rocks. Always good content. Follow him on Instagram. Ghost fan of Makhachev throwing strikes on the ground challenge. Yeah, I know. He definitely needs to do that. That's another reason why I'm not maybe trying to invest in him on the parlay. Because what if we get burned on him not throwing enough strikes? You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. So that's a great point there. Ghost Rain Lamina says, "My goodness, Trevor Peek is a mess." Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want to pick up any Conor McGregor style insights. Those are doing things in his style, especially that don't involve money. Standing hammer fist, Rain Lamina. Yeah, that is the Trevor Peek MO there. We got Ghost Phantom. I love Victor Henry's volume, like his clinch entries into folding elbows, just lovely. I do as well. Rhea says in Truesdale, "What's in the bag, brother? Hey, brother, come on, brother. It's okay, brother. I'm not going to get myself in trouble if I start going into impersonations here, so I want to keep myself in check. Jimmy Kudo, Nathaniel Wood has improved a lot. He has. I love me some Nathaniel Wood. I agree with Guru. It feels like he could be clipped off at any point, which he has before, so that perhaps that'll keep me away. James Kendrick, technique question for Dan that also parlays into Wood's skill set. What is your favorite lead strike? Is it the jab, the teep, or something else? My favorite lead strike? I don't know. I guess a jab. A jab is probably my favorite lead strike, I guess. I do like, I don't know. A lot of my favorite strikes, whether it's front kicks or hooks, are checking shots. So I'll go with the jab, I guess. Rain Lamina, Dan, and Guru, you guys are like early start time. Do you guys like the early start time for this card? Guru, I'll let you answer that. Do you like the early start time?
I'm just so used to the later start times. So I'll just kind of go with no, but it's an interesting idea to just kind of be done with the fights by 5 o'clock. But no, I'm gonna go with no. 10 a.m. is a little too early for me. But I'm also an East Coast guy, so maybe that's even earlier for you. No, that's no good. That's no good.
I can't complain because I'm a West Coast guy. We're the last people that are allowed to complain. We're Americans, so we'll get the Euro people pissed off. They're like, "You motherfuckers! I have to never see my children and beat them over sleep deprivation to watch the card." You're like, "Easy, buddy. Easy, buddy. Easy." I don't know if you go that far, but no. But I am just not lazy. I just love my sleep, man. So I love it too. And I like going to the gym in the morning. So this means I don't get to go to do extreme couture classes that are taking place. So I'm going to watch the card. So. Not great for me. James Kendrick, will we ever get a TB Guru and Dan Tom super collab? You guys are great.
We do need that. Listen, not for nothing, Dan Tom. You're long overdue for a Chronic Combat appearance.
Yeah, what we'll do. I would love to be on your guys' show anytime. Ghost, it's a shame that none of the journalists ask about Shara being sanctioned in the U.S. Shara Putin. They should be embarrassed for not asking the question. That simple. There's a lot of questions that aren't asked in the media if you guys don't notice, especially things that you think would deserve follow-up. It's just one of those things, man. I don't know. I can't defend it. Rio Susan Truesdale, why is the Khabib fan base so toxic? I see Ghost put up some great analysis from both Islam and Volk and get hate for it. Same with you, Dan, but you put up great threads for both sides and still get hate. Yeah, man, it's just the kind of the fan base. I will say, and people have been saying, Guru, you weigh in here. I know, the fan base can be insufferable, and people, already took issue with me saying that, even though it's what it is. We're seeing a reverse.
That whole crowd loves to be victims, honestly. Yeah. So I think you see a lot of that going around in the news these days. I'm not going to draw any parallels, but I think you're already starting to see some of the parallels, right? If any of you turn on any news channel, right? Just crazy stuff going on. So I think you see a lot of those people come out on different topics and different issues. Me personally, when I see that kind of behavior, I try not to take any of it personally because these are people going through their own issues and their own things for them to behave that way. So it's just like, man, do your thing.
Yeah.
None of these people would ever say it in person, right?
Sure.
Just enjoy your catharsis, man. Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, I wouldn't presume to know what connections to make, but I think that's the safe assumption is what you said at the very end there. It's like, Dude, who knows what these people are going through? Like, I pull my hair enough out with some of these trolls trying to make sense of it that I'm like, what am I doing trying to make sense of it? You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know what these people are going through or anything like that. Who knows where it's coming from? But yeah, it's been around. Hey, Guru, we are not. Hope we are not too obnoxious. We can be a frisky bunch on a weekly basis. He said. Jimmy Kudo says.
Oh my God, not at all. I love the crowd, love the energy. Need more of you to come hang out with the Chronic Combat crew on Wednesday nights.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you staying up late with us on a Wednesday night, both the audience and you, Guru. So before I kick it for you back to you to get the plugs and kick us out of here, I'm just gonna recap my picks and plays. Guru, you can recap whatever you like or choose not to. It's up to you. But just got to go through with my audience, give them what they came here for. Taking Makhachev. Taking Khumshot-Usman. Taking Dagestani Stipe. Ankalaev over Johnny Walker. Taking Aliskerov over Alves. Taking who the fuck. We'll see who I take for Gafurov, Nurmagomedov. Tune in to my quick picks and prognostications that drops on Junkie on Fight Day, as well as my posting picks and plays on Fight Day at Dan Tom MMA on the artist formerly known as Twitter. Taking Mokaev. Not sure if I'm going to be putting him in any parlays, but I'll get to the plays in a second. Over Elliott. Taking Peek over Yahya. Not that Yahya, everybody. Not Rani Yahya. Taking Basharat-Henry. Though Henry feels like a live dog. Taking Dumas over Azaitar, I guess. I'll probably take Breeden over Jubli. We'll see if I play him. Be taking Wood over Naimov. We'll see if I play him. Taking Dudakova over Frey. If I play her, it'll only be in a stupid parlay. And that's it. Taking Silva over Magomedov. That is Bruno Silva over Sharap-Putin. Of course, I played Bruno Silva, 1 unit plus 241. We'll see if I abandon ship on the parlay, and regardless of whether or not I play Breeden or not, I double down and go on that playable chalk for that near even money for an under 1.5 that Guru shouted to cover me in case Magomedov wins, or perhaps double up my profits, baby. Who knows there, right? I am going to probably put Silva or Silva by KO in a round robin. Probably going to have Makhachev by sub in a round robin. Going to have Chimaev by KO probably in a round robin. I will be deciding between, again, a Breeden money line, maybe an Aliskerov round 2 or something like that for the fourth leg. I don't want to put anything in the main event, too much to potential to pick from. I'm already exposed enough on it. Speaking of the main event, I got Volk under 4.5 rounds at plus 115. I got 1.5 units on that with a sprinkle to perhaps double dip and catch in mid to late rounds. Makhachev round 3 plus 1200, round 4 plus 1400, round 5 plus 1800, point 17 you each on those. Co-main event got a total there as well. Khumshot-Usman under 2.5 rounds, minus 155, threw a whole 2 units on there, though I suggest at this point for a better price tag and angle, maybe just go for the Chimaev inside the distance there. But that's where I'm at with 2 units and another quarter unit cherry on top with Chimaev round 1 KO at plus 450. Of course, I got Makhachev by sub 1 unit. Just took a straight shot there. He's going to have the opportunities. Will he get it at plus 200? Perhaps maybe I can double my money there, or more than double it, I should say, if I'm only putting a unit there. Round 3 sprinkle. That'll be my prop squad that I'm going to write when we get off the show. Plus 900 was able to find it at 0.33 U. I threw a Scottie Pippen on there. And that's what I'm basically looking at. Probably going to be around 7 to 8 unit, my normal exposure for this card. Anything you want to add to that for picks or plays, Greg?
Wow, yeah, no, I like everything that you've got going on. Yeah, I'm going to be taking that money line shot on Breeden. Probably have a parlay with Volk, Chimaev, Ankalaev, maybe a little Aliskerov in there. Gonna find the different plays. Might do a PRP, which I've never actually done before, but this seems like the type of card to do it. Yeah, just kind of keep posted to my Twitter and to my BetMMA to see all my different plays that I come up with. And very importantly, very, very importantly, make sure you check out Chronic Combat Conversations over on YouTube. We go live every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Whenever there's a UFC card, we go live 8 p.m. Eastern, and TB and I, my unbelievable co-host, we break down the fights, and we're always free. We always have the best bets, and we have guests like Dan Tom and Dan Levy and Aaron Bronstetter and Luca Fury and just some of the big names in the business, and DFS by the numbers, and just a lot of awesome, really nice guys. Lou Betch has been on there. We've had a ton of awesome people. I couldn't possibly name all the amazing guests that we've had.
Great shouts.
Yeah, really. Just I could continue go on and on and on. But seriously, if you're not somehow following Chronic Combat Conversations, please do so. You should follow my unbelievable co-host TB Scouting MMA on the artist formerly known as Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. I don't know if you guys use Verdict, the Verdict app, but definitely check us out on there. You can follow me, Guru Scouting MMA, Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. Dan, Tom, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Seriously, it was such an honor, such a pleasure to be on the show with you. I had an unbelievable time, and I really hope we get to do it again on this platform and hopefully again on ours. So seriously, thank you so much. What a great time.
I'm down, and thank you for answering Rio Susan Truesdale's question. He wanted to know what time you guys go, and you gave that out. Jimmy Kudo in the chat also says, great show, and thank you for joining us, Guru. So thank you from Jimmy Kudo to you, sir.
Yeah, listen, we're on a push to 500 subscribers. We're almost there. So if you guys could toss us a subscription, would mean the absolute world.
Do that. Chronic Combat Conversations, folks. You find me at Dan Tom MMA through the underscores there on Instagram. Follow at the PYN Podcast on all social platforms. Don't pollute your feed. It really does help. Of course, this free show, we do a free show as well. We support the other free shows. And my free show is actually supported by my website, mixedmartialanalyst.com, which you can go to and you can scroll down, toggle down maybe if you're on the mobile, and you can see Amazon and On It click-throughs. If you shop at those places, you just go to the site, click through the banner, you do all your shopping. I'll do the read-throughs and the products on the next episode, guys. Don't have time now, but a small percentage of your purchase gets kicked back to this here program without it releasing any of your privacy details. So if you want to go to town and buy some vibrating nunchucks, whatever you do to get your rocks off between fight cards, you can do it by supporting this show and killing two birds with one stone. Also, secure PayPal links at mixedmartialanalyst.com, as well as my link trees at Dan Tom MMA, or you can donate to the Super Chat that's secure, of course, via YouTube. Going into this show, watching live, going back to it if you and I and we all hopefully, knock on wood, do well. Thank you, guys. Good luck on your picks and plays, and always protect your neck.